never really know how to start these, so let's just get into it. Because one thing I do know about, as I have no life to FIFA for as long as I can remember, is tactics. And I would constantly spend time, playing against a computer just to sort of hone certain tactics or see which roles work. So I've got lots of experience with it. So let's start off with the build-up style. Now, as somebody who likes to try and play football, and I like tiki-taka, hopefully whilst I'm doing this, I'll be able to sort of put examples of the gameplay up for you so you can see it, but there will be a dedicated video which has all of my clips from my climb to Division 1 and winning it in online seasons, because I can't play Ultimate Team. There's just too much of a focus on roles and pluses and all that malarkey, which you don't get with online seasons. You're still playing real people, but yes, I digress. So I like to play short passing, so you'd think, okay, surely you'd want short passing then. But I find the runs are terrible, which obviously makes sense as they're all trying to come short. Balanced, for me, it just feels like the worst of both of them. You'd sort of think the opposite, wouldn't you? You'd think, okay, balance, you get, some short, or is it some short and some counter? I don't know. I know lots of people play balance, which is fine. I guess lots of this is personal preference, but for me, and the way I've got this tactic set up anyway, the way I've been doing it recently, is that the counter does all the running for you. So you don't have to do all the triggering and all that stuff. Obviously with EA, the runs are still pretty terrible, but players do make that run. And the thing as well, which I really wanted to sort of hone in on and include, was the last line there where it says the team transitions quickly from defense to attack. So I wanted my team to get into their shape as quick as possible. As you can see with some of the roles, they are a bit out there and not things that you'd normally see from the meta sort of sheepy guys, where it's just defenders on defend. It's just so boring. If you're going to be a pro, sure, you might need that, but most of you aren't pros, so stop being boring. Actually, try to enjoy the game. But I know, you pay the same money as me, you can play it all you want, I suppose. This is just for people that like to play nice football and are looking for someone that can showcase that. So yeah, I wanted my team to transition quicker, because with short passing, they take longer, which is just stupid. I don't want my guys just slowly getting into position, and especially with the lack of the plus roles, as you can see with this being, I think it's kickoff I'm actually doing it on, but it's exactly the same as online seasons. I've got 3 players with a plus, where if you're playing Ultimate Team right now in, June, all of your players will have a plus. So, with short passing where it takes longer, and I don't know if I can see it on the actual role. No, it's not going to show it, but essentially with a plus or a plus, your players get into position quicker, and apparently they make more runs as well. So it would be more beneficial, but I can't have that, and I'm not really at the moment willing to play Ultimate Team to get that on all my players. So counter is the thing. Now, with having it on counter, I've sort of counteracted that a little bit by changing the roles, where sort of making sure my players are closer together. So, I could have them really spread apart and on counter, and then that would feel horrible. That wouldn't feel nice and close and tiki-taka like you'd want, but they are closer, and you'll see that when I go to the right analog stick, and I'll show you what it looks like with the ball. Defensive approach. Excuse me. Personal preference, I think I've gone with high. I like to try and put pressure on. I don't like doing the whole D-pad nonsense stuff, which is probably the best way to press people in this game. I used to I think it was press and possession loss. Pass from maybe FIFA 23 was the last game with it, which is my favourite, most recent FIFA game, to be honest. But yeah, aggressive is too high, high is just fine. Maybe you can manually adjust it a bit. I'm not sure, I haven't found there to be a massive difference with that, but not something I've put too much testing on. So yeah, that aside, let's move on to the roles. So ball playing keeper, I don't know, I like my keepers to be involved in build up. If you watch any sort of tacticals in on sort of like real life football, if you've got that extra man with your keeper stepping in to play it about, you're just taking a player out of their team. So pretty handy. And with it being a video game, you don't tend to get that many mistakes with your keeper. If you're just smart with what you're doing, you can easily chip it with a square pass over their heads. Just be careful towards the ends of the half and things, because you can feel when the momentum is going against you, and if you're not doing the exact right pass with your keeper, the game will sort of pull it towards them a little bit. But yeah, defenders, like centre backs, I don't know, I've tried lots of them. I've tried the wide back with support, and I'll show you when I go on to with ball in a second. They are really wide, and it does give a massive gap in the middle, which you can counteract that with the centre half instruction. But I just find with the ball playing defender is they do step up a little bit. Especially with this, it creates a back three. So they do step up a little bit if there is a tiny bit of space for them to get into, which can sort of lead to nice little triangles between like Grav, Kanate and Van Dijk around the pressing striker. But they're not too crazy with it, and they are sort of there for the counter. Yeah, let's go into this then. So as you can see with ball, now I played against someone actually, and he was like, wow, okay, you are good, whatever. I'm not that good actually. That's one thing I will like to say is because I don't play the meta way, like I'm fine, but also I'm 30 this year, and I'm a dad, so like I'm not the best, and I'm fully aware of that, but I still like to play good football. So it looks really defensive, doesn't it? And you're like, oh my God, look, I've got 3 there, false back, 4, 5, and then 6. Like I've got 6 guys back. But it doesn't play like that at all. You'll have seen from the clips, if I have been playing them. If I haven't, I will definitely do so now. But you get this nice trio here, and then you get the false backs in front. So you got the 3 and the 5. This deep line playmaker on roaming with the 2 DMs. So with him on roaming, first of all, these false backs do not occupy the DM positions at all. So normally it would say, when set to defend, false back operates as a defensive midfielder when the team has the ball. Like, fine. But funnily enough, even with plus roles, if there's 2 DMs already there, they won't go into that space. So that's curious and something to sort of pick up on. But with this deep line playmaker role, when you've got him on one of them on centre half, this guy will go everywhere. Like he will go up the left past the left mid, he'll go up the right past the right mid, he will dot around the midfield. I don't know if it helps with having counter as the build up style, sort of forcing the runs out of him, but I don't know, it can't be that, because when I've got 2 of those 2 DLPs on roaming, they don't do that. Like they will just sort of dot around the midfield, they'll go sort of towards the cam, might sometimes make a run sort of towards the striker, but they won't go super wide past the right mids, the left mids. So yeah, I just thought that was a curious thing, which I guess I sort of found out by accident. But the false backs are there, they'll sort of be your controllers, because this guy will be going everywhere. They will control the middle of the pitch, and with your 3 defenders, they can afford to step up. and sort of players like your centre mids just outside the box, if you're holding a bit of possession and you're trying to find that run through, you'll be able to grab it with your either of your false backs, and you can sort of play it about, so you can play it back to your centre back, so a DM, centre half DM, who can then do a little triangle and find your false backs, who can then do like a triggered run, so you do like a 1-2 maybe out to your left mid, who can then play it back to this guy running through, or to your roaming cam or roaming DM, so that they can find really nice runs through that when you have it on like fullback defend, like this guy's back here. So if you're going to do a triggered run with him, you're not going to find any good space. The only space you're going to find is just going to go wide up here towards Salah. Like a 1-2 sort of triggered run. It's just going to be up there, and that's like not penetrating at all. It's just wide, like it's fine. They can deal with that all day long. But with these on false back, it's like triggering your centre mids through, which is so much more dangerous. And these guys are, really crucial. One thing I would say is that sort of works out really nicely is having this guy on DM when you do lose the ball can be a little bit open, because these guys are naturally a bit wider, which is why as well I didn't like them on wide back, because that is an absolute chasm, because this guy will step up as he's naturally a DM. He won't sort of sit there until your defenders get back. He will just like step up, which is nice because he can sort of, if someone fires the ball out of their midfield or defence, like the R1 triggers, he will sometimes latch onto that and he'll be there to just nick that back straight away, which is really cool. But also if they play a certain way, where they're not silly, basically, with that first pass, which is not necessarily silly, but like against certain tactics it works, because your DMs don't usually sit in that place. But if they play a certain way, then that gap is massive. So you sort of need these guys, the two centre-backs there. You can sometimes get caught out with it. I definitely have. Like my record in seasons is really good, and I'll probably put it on the screen now if I remember. But I've still lost games like 5-0 where people just play a certain way, which is fine, and it just counteracts that tactic a little bit. Where maybe then I could sort of put this defender on defend, and maybe he would block that space. So that's on me, but sometimes I can be a little bit stubborn with it and be like, no, I don't want to change. It's my fault. So we've talked about him, talked about the false backs. That's what I was going to say. So with the false backs, and I'll sort of do like dedicated videos on like these roles if I feel like it's wanted or interesting enough to talk about. So with having these guys pushing forwards, the thing is where they're in the defensive line, they sort of sprint all the way back, and where they're in sort of the midfield position, they sort of, I'm doing it with my hands, I don't know why because you can't see, but they would sort of like, the AI sort of drops back and sort of nicks the ball off their midfielders if they're too slow in attacking. And if they are too slow and they sort of evade that and come back, then you'll find you'll then set up. So, and usually, I mean, I've got the two worst examples, but I played the online seasons with PSG, so you have Hakimi and Nuno Mensch there. So they're like two of the fastest players in your team, usually fullbacks are. Aside from like wingers, I suppose. God, Salah and Gakpo, yeah, these are not good examples. I had to pick Liverpool because it's my team, but like they're like the fastest ones to get back as well. So with the AI sort of pulling them back on like a pulley system, and with their pace, they are rapid, so they're always sort of there and abouts to cover. And helps with them being midfielders. They can quickly sort of jig to the side and grab a goal. Sort of evade people. I do really like the small sort of nippier players. If they can pass, that's great. But if you play smart passes, I play on semi as well. If you play smart passes on semi, you don't usually lose the ball. Like, you don't need them to have the best stats in the world. Now here's where sort of towards these sort of positions and roles, I wouldn't change too much. You can play about with the defenders, see if you can get something interesting going on. I've tried wide half, doesn't really work. Again, with the wide half, I think that was a role they introduced halfway through the year last year, possibly, or was it this year? Either way, it just feels like a role they've just not cared too much about, you know. But with centre half, that works. Again, play about with those. False back defend absolutely works. Don't change those. And DLP roaming works because he's everywhere. Like this is a sort of role that I want from all of my players. Like he is everywhere, and hopefully, again, I will put the clips in so you can see absolutely everywhere. EA used to have lots of roaming roles, like on centre mids. My favourite role was roaming. I remember from FIFA 23 had them all on roaming, and you could play such nice football. But lots of them don't work as well this year. Like, you know, why can you not have roaming on any of your roles? You can on right wing and left wing, can't you? But right mid, left mid, you can't. Yeah, the roles are just silly. And also roaming on right wing and left wing, I don't believe works too well either. So, yeah, and we do have roaming on the cam. Now, this is another role that you can be quite flexible with. I've had games where I've played him as a build-up where I've felt like I've needed a bit more support. I have played him as roaming. I've played him as classic 10 a little bit on versatile. Shadow striker has worked definitely. And half winger sometimes sort of opens the pitch up because I've been trying to get movement out of the right mids and left mids. So I thought, you know, if I'm doing half winger, sort of sending a guy outside, that will naturally, like with the way the system works, is sort of one guy makes a movement, the other guy will correspond to that, if that's the right phrasing. Like Gakpo will then sort of move inwards, or left mid will move inwards. I don't know why I've got Gakpo in here. Pretty terrible player. Yeah, so that was the thinking. But I'm not too set on the role. Like, I think it sort of depends what you've got going on around it, that you can mix and match with that. So, you know, if you find good combinations, definitely let me know with that, because I'd be interested to try it out. With the right mids and left mids, I really wanted them to come inside, but then you play against some teams and it's way too narrow. So I've tried with one on like a wide midfielder. I think I've tried support and build up. So they're sort of holding the width, trying to drag the opposing fullback out a bit. So these guys have got more space to get into. Now I started this with the roles as wide playmaker build up, because what I found is they essentially play as an inside forward, but they, I mean, what does it say? It says when set to build up, playmaker will come short to offer a passing option while balancing their approach to support the defence if needed. A creative outlet positioned out wide but able to move inside to help create chances to unpick defences. Which, yeah, is pretty accurate. And I find that they sort of work differently to the inside forwards, where the inside forwards are usually on that last line. So you'll pass it into them, they can run straight through that gap of where the right and left fullback are, and they're in on goal, you know, can just sweat it across or shoot. With the playmaker, they're just sort of a bit further back. So it can be nice to then link up with them and find those short passing options, which is what I sort of referenced earlier. With it being on counter, I've found that to be quite helpful. Again, it's in some games it hasn't worked, and I have found that like inside forward and even attack has worked quite nicely. But again, in other games that has been too attacking, and I found it quite difficult, maybe due to the counter, to actually find these guys, like to get it out of this little part here. And these guys are too sort of tightly marked by the fullbacks. So I can't find them as a passing option, and I don't want those guys just like wide. I've not really found I get anything from that. They're just wide, like they offer nothing, and I don't cross. You can't really do like nice underlaps and things. Like the role of, where is it, inverted wing back, just it doesn't really work. Like in the beta it was a lot better, but they don't really work. So the wingers they do nothing. They don't really get into the box, so they're just sort of null and void. At least with them on wide playmaker, they can mix into the build-up. With this guy on roaming and this guy on roaming, they do sort of come out and sort of like underneath the and wider of the right mid and left mid, which can drag these guys even more central for a bit of link-up play with the false back cam striker, and get some nice opportunities. But yeah, I'm not set on that. Might even be better with a right wing, left wing formation, like a 4-2-1-3. You can have these exact same roles. It just changes the right mid and left mid to left wing and right wing. So maybe something to consider there. Now, advanced forward attack for the striker. I very much like Alexian was a proponent of the false nine. Like, I love it. Maybe it's because we're both Liverpool fans, but if you think Liverpool, you think left mid, right mid as inside forward attacks. You think Firmino as the false nine, and you sort of work it from there. Unfortunately, the game just doesn't work like that. The movement is terrible, and unless you're doing player locking and all that garbage, which I will never do, then you're not going to get a lot from it. Because the annoying thing is, I will find myself constantly like in really good cutback positions, like where you've sort of got to the byline or into a nice little position where you're like, okay, I'm just looking for someone in the box to just square it across to. And with the false nine build up, even on attack, they're not, you can't rely on them to be there. Like, they will be there sometimes, but you can't rely on it. And then with the inside forwards on attack or whatever on balanced, even if they're right mids and left mids, you still can't rely on it. Like, they will sometimes be there, but most often than, or more often than not, they'll be sort of hiding just behind. And if you've played FIFA or FC recently, then you'll know they'll be hiding just behind the fullback, where it's impossible for you to get the ball to them. And it's so infuriating, which I guess, is why people play a lot, and fine, gets you more goals and you will win more games by doing that. But, old man gamer can't be bothered, and it just doesn't feel like football, like player locking and doing all that nonsense. So, yeah. Maybe a bit of a hindrance, but advanced forward attack, support and versatile are good. Support sort of plays a little bit like that, the false nine, where he will occasionally sort of drop there for a pass. So, if you're trying to build up, a drop for a pass, and you can literally just knock it back straight away. And if someone's actually not being a weird little sweat and they actually do control their players, you can sometimes catch them out by that, because you can just do a pass to the striker, pass straight back, and do like a 1-2, so you can send him on a run. And then suddenly you've created that space that otherwise wouldn't be there. Like, if you get that false nine, you could do similar things, I suppose, but they've usually got players around, like DMs, more around the false nine rather than the centre backs that'll be sort of closer on the striker, if that makes sense, on the advanced forward attack. So they'll be less likely to control their centre backs and drag them out, basically. And yeah, in terms of the cutback, cut across, any little chance in the box, you'll see from the gameplay, I think I had Mayulu, the PSG guy. He was like not even the best player in the game, but I don't even know if he has a plus or plus. I can't recall. But he's always in that opportunity, in that space to take the opportunity with the 5-star weak foot. Really handy. But you see, like with all this, like I'm not talking about playstyle pluses and all this rubbish, like, oh, you can finesse plus it from here. And do you not find that so nice? We're talking about football here. We're talking about tactics and roles and what we can do to sort of work around the opposition and play the nice football. We're not talking about like game breaking rubbish, So yeah, that's what I'm sort of trying to bring to my videos, to the FC community, like trying to make people think and enjoy the game a bit better. Like hopefully you guys have watched my video sort of around my climb to Division 1 in seasons, and hope you like that gameplay. I think it's quite nice personally. Maybe it's bias, but I like the passing, the movement, the little touches, the fact that I've got like my false backs getting through on goal, cutting it across or shooting themselves. Like, I don't know, I just find it cool. That is my 4-2-3-1 tactic. The point wasn't really to copy the code, it's more to get you to think and adjust where you feel necessary and sort of try things out. There is the code if you need it, but as I say, it's not really the point. I've been Brody. If you like this, drop me a like, give me some advice, constructive criticism. I will appreciate that a lot. And yes, bye, I guess.